Hey everyone, hope you can hear me.
Sorry, I can't hear you. You're a bit inaudible.
What about now?
Awesome. I can hear you clearly.
Let me increase.
You can
So
share your screen if you need to. You have the permission to do so.
let me share my screen.
Good.
I would like feedback if you can hear me, if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Nice.
Yes, it's clear and we can hear it.
So it was a weird topic. Actually didn't know how to label my talk. I settled on tips and tricks. I know tips and tricks are. I was told these tricks that you can do on your IDE, but I have one trick for the IDE only. Others are small things that I've picked up for my Flutter journey. So I need to be with myself, like everybody has said. I'm Patrick Waweru, but for this talk, just call me Pato. Don't call me Patrick. Below there are links for my active social media, if GitHub is a social media. That is Twitter. I'm at the ranking Pato. At GitHub, I am Pato. As Eric has also said, current as per the talk, I'm a software engineer at On Phone Media Group, where I also do Flutter. I talk a bit about myself. I've had before 2 years experience, so mine started way back in 2018. I believe I did install the last beta version. Just having an issue with Ionic on Stack Overflow. Someone mentioned about Flutter, so I was curious. First thing I went was on YouTube. I found a tutorial by an Indian guy about how to build a WhatsApp clone. Check the duration. It was 30 minutes, so I was marveled on what he was. Actually, never saw it. I forwarded to the end to see the outputs, and that's how I started. So it's been 2018 December till now. So what should be the agendas? I thought of starting a little bit beginner kind of stuff, but I've had for 2 years experience. But anyway, we shall have them. At first agenda will be using the animation package to create stunning page transitions. I know in the demo they do have I do have examples to do this, but I always find it tedious. And I also wanted to use the transitions in named routes instead of having navigated the push and then you apply the page transition. The second one is JSON serializations. I think I've inherited multiple legacy codes, and nothing frustrates me as someone who has not JSON serialized that party data, especially from web services like HTTP and so forth, so on. So I'll show you simple tricks that I use for data to convert JSON to data model. I know it's a bit tedious, but I think I've discovered 1, 2, 3 ways to do it so fast. The third one, always have was with designers. So about you can go, or if we go a little bit deeper with that views, it will be a small example. So show you a problem that I have. Maybe someone can take it home and could come up with something in the near future. JS codes and libraries in that. For those guys that are targeting Flutter Web, then finally I will accept question and answers. So let's get to it. Animations. I do like before I came to this solution of using animations. I used to I used to
Okay, but
use the hello.
are you still sharing
Hello.
your screen?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, it has been updated. Okay, it has stopped sharing.
Hope you can see it now.
Yep. Now over to slides.
So before I came to this interesting solution I'm going to show you, I used to use the Kupotato page routes because it has a very nice animations when you're pushing pages. So when the animation package came out, I remember it was on a talk. It was Flutter Interactive or something. I tried it right away, and I came to love it. So I think I'll show a small snippet. I think code is my way of showing things. You see something like this. I have a class where I've tweaked. I'll add a few tricks on the available APIs on the package. So as long as you're you're doing transition animations in during page to page, you always need a page route builder, which takes a generic, which are passing it up from the route, which will be a page eventually when it's called. So it takes in the duration. You can also tweak the duration when you're calling it. It's not a required thing. In my class, I have defaults. Takes the page builder in which we pass the page builder. The page builder on my end is it's actually a function that returns a widget. We get to see it soon. Then a transition builder that takes the transition. So they fed through very more. I think we'll open code. I've avoided doing live code. I don't want surprises. Maybe running. So in my utils folder, you see two files which I'll talk about. So the animation extended. Like I said, let's leave it for now. I'll explain to you what that is for those who do not know. Like I said, I have defaults for transitions and curves. So curves is how things. It's a I do not know how to explain this, but it's how things do animation stuff. But maybe someone could explain better. I just know they are curves. One of the APIs the animations package does is page through transitions, like I was saying, and I think I've explained what this is. So basically, the same being repeated. Also, the API has a fade transition, which fade animation is not from the animations package. It's from the animation the Flutter one. So I just wanted you simple utils that I can use all in one package. But the fade scale comes from fade scale is also a Flutter one. Share axis is an animations. It's from the animations anyway. If you open the pack, the examples, they do have a shared scaling, shared axis transition where the Nini appears like it was scaling at the angle of 80% width height. Then it's like it's bouncing onto you. I said I'll explain this later. So I'm just defining type definitions where I want this to be associated to this. I can also go further and say, for example, this is a simple example, I want my name to be associated with a string. Instead of saying an example string, saying string name is equals to Patrick, say Flutter, you can say Patrick name is equals to clear what a type definition is. It's just overriding normal things sample. So like I said, it's a function that returns a widget, and you'll see it me calling it here and here because the transition builder always returns a widget. So the interesting parts when it comes where you want to render when you want to use the transitions in name routes. So I've created a hyper class called app router where I have statics routes, and under the generate route in which you override around here on generate route takes a function on generate that has settings. So basically that's what I'm doing around here. As you can see, you're passing settings. If you want parameters from the push routes, you can get them from here. I think for now you don't need it. Then I'm switching, I'm iterating over a single route to where to which route I want. So when you say navigation.push router initial route, you take it to home page. As you can see, I have also a hyper function that takes the widget and the route. It's important. The importance of it is I can transition to different pages, different animations. So just take if the route is the initial, then push it, call the respective animation, then push the page. Like I said, the page builder is just a function that returns the widget in which the page is the widget. You can also override the duration if you want. I won't do that. With that, you just call the app router.generate routes and you're done. I hope the example is running. Oh, yeah, here's the example. So the fade routes, as you can see, it's fading. Fade scale. I wish I could change the background, but after this, the source code will be open source. You can see the transitions well when the background is. I'll change that when I'm pushing. So the fade through kind of looks the same as the fade scale, but it's different once you change the background and increase the durations. Also the scale axis, it will start transitioning at 80%. I said around here is when you see the animation. So for example, if you're seeing a list, you just see the page happening around here, then it does its thing. With that, I'll be done with my first trick. It's a nice helper function that I copy and paste in different projects. Yep. The next topic will be JSON serialization. Like I've said, I've inherited a lot of legacy codes. I've also seen people coming on my inbox to be help around their projects. And one thing I don't like is seeing people using maps. So I think, let me open an example that I have. The reason I don't like maps in this scenario, I'll see like an example I have on my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
A good example why I don't like maps. Maps, it's a good data type, but I don't like it. A data structure, I don't like it. This I don't like it because you can see in the example, I have a text called title, but once I give a colleague the same source code, he can tweak the results. He can accidentally add a value on the word title and add an X, then chaos happens. Another thing, if I give you the source code like this, you won't know what the results values are. Yeah, compared to having data structures, I believe this should be a default. Don't use maps. I see a lot of guys using Firebase doing this. I don't like it. I think it's something that should stop because it's just hell and scary. So there are three types. There's one tip I've not added here. The three tips I will show you. One is using freeze to generate data classes. If you've been checking the Flutter repo, there's a big issue on data classes and how they should be implemented. A lot of guys are saying freeze. A lot of guys are saying the Kotlin data types, but it's a bit contentious. I think last time I checked, they went for metaprogramming, in which freeze does. I will show you how to use freeze. The second tip will show you how to use a public available website. Also, there's a that tip will show you how to use a package available on VS Code. So freeze. It requires one thing about freeze. It requires a little bit of installation of packages. One thing, you need the build runner for code generation, so you can do the Flutter build runner stuff. As you can see, I have in brackets dev. So under your prospect.yml, the dependency should be in a dev. You don't want to ship it to your app once you're done. Also freeze, it's also a dev dependency. Just on annotations, I think you can see my picture here. I have annotations. If you're familiar from Kotlin, when you're doing data classes, you can add annotations or Spring Boots. I know you can do this, adding annotations. So I say, for example, this is an example. A class human response has a parameter called string, which is an ID. Then I'm annotating what the JSON does have, because it can't be the ID number. So the annotation will be ID number. This package is what it will use when generating JSON serialization to and from JSON. So this depends with this. You can't have one and not have the other one. With that, once you've set up a simple class like this, you just call the Flutter runner to generate a freeze file with the full class, the to JSON, the copy with stuff. I will show you later on. I'll show you an example, so you can move to the next one. Yeah. Going back. So the next one, I'll just show you the site. It's called quicktype.io. Hope it loads. I also have an example. So it caches your last JSON that you paste. So you need the JSON for the backend. Paste it around here. Declare the class name. So you can give it a name Flutter devs. By default, you can mutate a few things. You can say you want types only. You can say you want from JSON instead of from map. So I prefer from map. You can make all the parameters required, but this does not conform to the null safety thing. So you have to copy it, then change it. You can also make the any finals. You can also make it optional. So it will check if the data type is null, then return a null instead of the JSON serialization throwing an exception. A cool thing about this, you can also use freeze. So from this, you can just paste your JSON, then say freeze, and it will generate a freeze version for you. All you need to do is run the Flutter run builder, and it will generate the actual class. One thing to mention, personally, I'm not a favor of freeze, and something you should know before doing it. It generates a lot of files. And I remember there's a time we did paste a question on the group, on the WhatsApp group, whether you should commit part files or not. I think it's debatable. I don't know. Maybe we shall wait for the Flutter team to be opinionated on that. But one thing to keep in mind, for every class you generate, you'll have a lot of files as your models. I think from a source code point of view, basically I don't use freeze. What I just do is copy this, just paste it anywhere and on your models, and you get data classes instead of manually typing you one by one. I've seen people manually type by one, and it's tedious. So hope hope people can use data classes going forward. I think for the next topic, it's a very contentious topic, satisfying a designer, and I will take a subtopic about it, colors. I think we all had issues where the designer comes and tells you, the voice comes and tells you the color does not look as our does not look as the app that you did. Basically, I think I do respect designers, so just do whatever they have, and it's good to replicate what they have so that the ball does not go the ball does not blow on your court. Let's blow it somewhere. Before we go there, so one thing, it's easier. One thing, we'll just get the first tip. We'll come back to this. The first tip is primary colors. So when you specify the primary color in color in the theme and as you can see the snippets in the theme and material app, the color is used to generate to show you a few things. One is the abba color, and one thing you cannot do is the example you've seen here. You cannot specify a hex color as a primary color. You have to generate a material color, and it's quite easy to do that. So let's just go back to where I was. Colors. Let me close others. So basically what you need to do is generate a swap of different like you need to create a swap of the material color. So what you do is just from this hex convert it to an RBG, paste it the RBG, and these are the opacities from 0.1 to 1.0. If you have noticed, and VS Code shows me a preview of those colors. And when you're generating a material color, you just paste the hex and the list of the map and the list of colors which take the different opacities of 150 to 900, and you have a material color. So that when you're calling a material color the primary color, you can specify the material color and it will not complain. Once you run the app, it will look exactly as your designers. Instead of assuming this is red, so just come here and say colors.red, which red is a material color. It should work. That the wrong line will have issues with the designer. The next tip will dark theme. I think that dark theme has become a mandatory requirement that is not written. All apps are required to have the dark theme. I don't know where the rule came from, but I also have seen I wouldn't say it's messy code, but to me is I'm very opinionated. As you can see from the example, this is a text widget where it says welcome to Kenya, and then have a styling where the color you it's right to do this. It will work where you said the theme.concept byte is equals to right. It will show at the text as white, and if it's dark, if the theme is light, it will render the text as black. But imagine a scenario where you have a lot of code. This will be messy. So the easiest solution I came about to is creating a very helper class with the important methods. So I've declared the class. My class members could be the background color. Surface color is material surface colors. A good example is material, the card, the alert dialogues, such stuff. Doesn't color is my own thing. It's my version of the light version of my primary color. I like a different version of green dark mode. Error text could be on a form, text, normal text, then text on a primary on a primary color. That's why I've named it like that. Then have this static method that takes a context. Then the context I'm checking if it's dark mode, and if it's dark mode, I'm calling a class that returns the instance of this class. I'll tell you why I have a theme that takes a brightness and another one that takes a context. I'll tell you once in a moment. So basically, the theme method returns the theme up with the fields field. For example, you can see on the background, I have a kind of light, kind of white background that's not too white. Also, when it's dark, I have a dark version of green, teal to be precise. It's basically it's easier stuff. So I'll tell you why I have a theme and an off method. So in your material app, something I've come to realize, you cannot access the theme with the brightness. So as you can see in my material app, I'm calling theme, which I'm getting from I have Qubit that does manage my theme. So once I get the theme, it can be 0, 1, or 2. So 0 is the light, 1 is dark, 2 is the system brightness. So once I have a small function up down here where I pass in the value from shade preference, check if it's 0, I will do the brightness to be the preference to be light, and if it's 1, it's dark. So I'm passing it the brightness, then getting the color that I want. On the scenario where you want to use the theme, I know I have some theme. I should have some. For example, we want a gray color that is dynamic according to the theme. So just the theme dot of, since it's a static class, you don't need an instance of app theme. Passing the context. The context will cater off if the gray is a dark version or a light version. Then we already have avoided such things. So the reason I like avoiding such things is coming when you need to change these values. So the designer maybe may come up with new dark colors. So you just come and change the dark colors here instead of going and refactoring a lot of code, which could be this kind of an example. With that, I think I've explained this. I wanted a very interesting study case where if you can see the light version, I've mapped the hex code to this and the dark version to this. I don't know if you can see the difference in colors. This one is a little bit better than this. So in the scenario of this screen, I will have this as my primary color, then have that class the off to determine if it's light or dark to switch between the colors. So on my app theme, I'll just map up the colors to this. Just come here and add a file called the primary color, then pass in the primary color here and the primary color here of the different hex codes, so that I'm sure when you tap on dark mode, all you need to what the app will do is just run the version of the app theme, and where I've called app theme.off, it will automatically switch the colors. I think we can go to the next. I've already demoed that. Also demoed my solution. Let's go to the nitty-gritty stuff, which is platform views. So I think last year I got to work with to play around with platform views. We wanted a solution where we could render emojis, and we found a very interesting package on Android that renders beautiful emojis. Emojis back then, the keyboard emoji in Flutter was so messy. Sometimes in small phone it would crash. Actually, we never achieved that, but I came to learn a few things. So a disclaimer: don't create a native view if the view can be created in that. And I've given you a scenario where you can use native views. So WebRTC in that is backed up with WebSockets. If you want to do WebRTC with things like what do you call it? Things like TCP. Then you're on your own. In such a scenario, you could render the calls, the incoming and outgoing ease of use in a video chat with Android views. Also, another disclaimer: these things are performance intensive, so don't use them everywhere. An example of package that we most of us have used, and maybe all of us, is the Google Maps. Google Maps use native views to render the maps. So in Android, there are two types of support modes that you can do Android views in Flutter. So there is a virtual display, and there's a hybrid mode, hybrid composition. One gives you the ability to access platform features. A good example is the keyboard handling. Also, platform feature would be if you want to render the view in a dark mode and light mode scenario, you wanna consider the hybrid composition rather than the virtual. So the virtual display, like the word from the word, it's a virtual thing. It's not a real Android view compared to a hybrid composition where, for example, an Android view could be the text view. It will actually be a text view, a real text view that will be injected in the Android framework. It depends on your use case. You can choose either. For example, if you want to handle keyboard, you may not want to choose virtual displays and instead use hybrid composition. Example of something that uses virtual displays is the Google Maps, because you don't need a lot of platform stuff. We just want to render a view. So the virtual display is not a little bit hard. It's so basic. The only problem comes with the hybrid composition. So hope some of you have played around with method channels and event channels in Flutter. As you know, you need to have a name. For example, people have a common convention where you put the package name. So for example, .com.example slash the event channel or the method channel. So also in hybrid composition inside your DAT, you need a unique identifier that the Android can like call it by ID the way JS guys do. An example, it should be a string. So example of given a simple view. Also, another thing you will find when creating a hybrid composition is a platform link. So basically, it links the view to the Flutter framework, and it takes a few required parameters, which is the view type, which is the unique identifier, surface factory, which we'll talk about in number 3, and number 4, a callback that returns the platform view service, which we'll talk on number 4. So the Android view service is just it's just a way of enabling the views that we'll create to be touched to size them using. You can wrap the view in something like a size box, so you can specify the height and the width, such things. And the platform service view is just a callback that creates a controller that you can play around. It can conform now to the widget lifecycle, which is in it, build and all that. So I think we'll go to an example. I guess a small example. Just to understand all those theories that I've talked about. Yep. Here we go. Like I've said, we need a unique identifier. My name, I've just put a simple string called view, simple view. A good interesting part is, for example, in the text view scenario, we like the value of the text view to be dynamic. So say you want to say it Patrick, you want to say it to be Flutter developer, such stuff. You can pass the parameters you want as maps, just as in method channels and event channels. When you want to push data from the that side to the content side, you can use JSON. The same does apply to platform views. like I said, you need a platform view link, which I talked about here in the first place. How you pass the unique identifier for the view. Template returns the platform view, like I've said around here, the platform view, which enables you to enables the view to be touched and done, and you can size the widget once you're done that. The other parameter you need to pass is the service view, which you need to return an Android service view. Like I've said, it's just a callback that will make the view to conform to the widget's life cycles, which is the init build. If you want to go further with the widget update and so on and so forth. With that, we have set up on the Android side. So when you come to the set up in the that side, when you come to the Android part, I don't have IntelliSense. I think I'll try and explain. So this is an internal class from Kotlin. Actually copied it direct from the official documentation, then edited on my own. So like you're saying, you're declaring a text view from Android. As you can see, I'm importing it from the Android widget view. The context I'll show you where you get the context from. Then we need an override where you can get the view if you want to. Then you can also call something when you're disposing when that side is disposing the view. This will be called. So this is Kotlin's constructor. This will be called the first thing. I'm just setting a few things for the text view. The properties, as you can see now, I'm hard coding it to a value of hello world, hello world, Flutter devs Kenya. But like I told you, you can pass parameters from the other side. So in this case, if you did pass the text, the value of the text, you just call the map, then you supply the key as whatever you defined. So every view is controlled by a factory. A factory is for generating things that the normal way a factory does, and it extends the platform view factory. Under that, you have an override called create, in which it will pass the context. Mind you, the context as in the Android side, it's not associated with the activity. So if you want to use the context that is associated with the activity, then you own. So the override the own create returns a platform view, in which here you can access. This is where you get the parameters from. You can pass in the parameters, then you pass in the parameters from to the view that we had. So when you come to the main, minding me up, I was exploring and few things. You need to override the configure Flutter engine, and where you need the engine part of it, where you register a factory that does this and that. So this is where the unique identifier comes in. It takes a string which is the unique identifier and the factory that will be responsible for producing the views. So every time it's called, the factory is called. And with that, you have a platform view. I won't run the nini because I don't want to hang a few things up on a pile. But it's like I said, the code will be open source. You can go to run it, play around with it. I'll be happy to hear feedback from anyone who tried. So the next thing is platform views for the web. So you can render normal HTML views. So I got to use this during my final year project. So it turns out Flutter Web has an issue with images. So if the server is rendering the image without CORS, the CORS will have issues. So I ended up rendering a few images with the image tag. I'll tell you my experience, what I switched to after I noticed about a few performance issues. So when you create an HTML element view, the view just gets appended to the HTML tree. I'll show you an example. Also, like I said, using a lot of these things will impact your performance. I'll tell you in the scenario of an image, what did I use? So I think I'll just say it now. On the official documentation, they do say you can use this HTML view or use a proxy that redirects course. I think I'll show you after the meeting. After this demo, which that's the solution I ended up with. So a demo will be on this same example. I'll show you how to create an image view that is actual HTML image tag. Don't mind the error. Actually, there's no error. See, I don't know why this thing always does appear like this. Also, for the same view, we need a unique identifier of the view. We need a unique identifier. Then it gives you a callback where you can specify the elements which you want. I believe it should be an HTML element, so you can't return here a text that is Flutter. It's a Flutter widget. So these parameters are accessible in this class. So I'm specifying the ID, the width, the source like you do in web, then styling, which I don't know where actually I have it, but you can remove it. So when you're calling this this view, we'll use an HTML view, like the way you're saying in Android. You can use a platform view link. This one you use HTML view link, and it's where the type should be equal with the ID the identifier you did put here. And I just have an if condition where I check if Nini's web should render an HTML. If it's not, just throw an error. So I think it should take a second. I don't know, I didn't run it faster. Here we go. So you can see HTML views. Should take a second. So this the image, I actually got it from Twitter, the banner of the Flutter devs Twitter handle. It shows such a background, and it's an actual HTML. So as you can see, I can copy the image. I can save the image as whatever I want. As you can see, it's a JPEG. Also, when you inspect the image, you should see something like this. So just select it. As you can see, it was injected on the HTML tree view, and it's an actual image. And the values that we passed here is, as you can see, the IDs passed the ID, the height, the width, and the source, and the styling. And as you can see, it's what I did do. So for the next topic, on my title, I did say a way you can consume this JSON JavaScript libraries in that. So I did not have time to set up that. So how many of you know that you cannot Agora does not support web as much as it's on their public.yam.dev. They do not support web, and I had an issue since in my final project I needed a video calling, and I had started the admin on using Flutter. Only a month before presentation, I only to discover Agora does not support Flutter web. There's a time I saw someone say you can call JavaScript libraries on Twitter. So I was not confident in doing that, but I had to do that. This will show a mixture of two things, the HTML view and calling JavaScript libraries. So the first thing you need in your project and a web is supply your JavaScript things. So what I did, I created simple functions that call the Agora SDK, which you should see, which I have called it in my, you see I have the Agora SDK, which is the JavaScript library. So I didn't want to pass a lot of parameters on JavaScript library, so it created helper functions, minding me all that. What is key is example is the initting of Agora, where we're passing the app ID and saying if it's a debug or not. So it does. I created these small functions like the init Agora. I should see another one, join channel, and leave a channel. Those were key things in my project. So what I did in my scenario, just like method channels in Android, they basically apply to web. So create a method channel, specify an identifier for it. Then I exposed a few functions on my Agora. So when you're consuming the library, you just say agora.init engine. You supply the Agora ID. I had an optional parameter which is debug true or false. It was the initialize to true. Then under just the way you do it when you're creating method channels, I'm invoking a method called init engine that I'm passing parameters as maps. So you see, let's see how that is done. Remember I told you I wrote helper functions. Helper functions to help me with the passing of params. We see I have a very important package called JSON js.dat. Uses better programming, so I have annotations called JS. So these functions are available on the JS. I think you can see it's a JS file. So example is we have the init Agora. As you can see, it's init Agora. I have exactly the same name init Agora that takes the Agora ID and the debug. As you know, Agora is a video streaming thing, so I needed an HTML view that I can mutate on the JavaScript side. So what do I mean JavaScript? Because I needed a view, which is a div. It's a normal div with the name screen view. Inside my JS, we do use that ID to check to stream the video from. Actually, I think there's a helper function to do that. Let's just check that. Here we have. So the client gives you on when the video has been gotten from your webcam and it started to stream. The HTML view is very important. That's where the rendering will occur. So I think that was quite important for me to have. Then declare your method channel. So in this side, it could be the Kotlin side. In the scenario of Android and iOS, it could be the device side. That side, this side was the that side. In hope I make sense, kinda. Then have your method handlers like you already have in Android and iOS. Just call have another helper function inside here. You see, I just pass the values on this thing. just passing the values to this, and this will call the JavaScript. So I have the init engine, join, and the live channel. When you're joining, we need the channel ID so that you can join a video conference. And that's basically it. You have the same join a channel, leave a channel. And so when you're consuming the plugins, it's quite easy. This was the example that you had. I'll share the link if you want to see it. So I think I had it under utils, the Agora thing. So when you're calling the library, that was the section of the library I was showing you. Never mind that. That was wanted a singleton. So my Agora ID, I think it expired. Then I'm calling the package init engine. This should go through the process, then call the JavaScript, and then join channel and leave channel. So this is called on my dashboard admin. This was the plugin side. I wanted a small thing that could work, and with the 1 month, it was working, and that is the story. I believe I'm done with the talk. If anybody has questions, I'll be thrilled to answer. I will try and answer. Anybody? Waiting. Anybody?
Guys, any questions? Does that mean that Pato is the best teacher in the world because we don't have any questions?
Maybe it was basic stuff. There's something I did not show. I've remembered. There's something I did not show on the maps. I never showed you how you use them on as classes. Like I said, I did show the model. So I have a repository where I get things from an API, then I map the JSON to a data class. So if you can go to this function that I'm calling, basically it takes the map that I'm getting from my REST, then it calls the function from JSON. So we have, then it does the map that like we do it in UI, which is I think a little bit chaotic. Then instead of accessing the JSON values, we just use models, say models.page.results, the page results. And I think that's a cleaner way of doing it. If you don't have questions, I think I would like to end it here.
Okay, thank you very much, Pato. I think Pato has shared his social media handle. So if you have any questions, and he has allowed us to actually ask him questions by sharing his Twitter and GitHub handles. Feel free to ask if you have any further questions that you feel you could ask after the talk. So one of the things that I wanted to emphasize is that starting with this talk, we'll be having more talks going forward. So our meetups will be every other week or every 2 weeks. So the next one is 2 weeks from now. I think it should be on the 30th or around there. And we have basically prepared a number of topics that we want you guys to handle. So since this is a community thing, we want everyone to at least feel part of it and to submit your topic if you want to be a speaker at any time. And yeah, we have, someone is asking if we have our we have any WhatsApp or Slack or any groups that we share. Basically, we do. I think if Sam, you are there, you can kindly share to Said Faud our WhatsApp handle. We have WhatsApp and Telegram. That's why we are quite active. So as I was saying, we want you guys to submit talks. We have prepared a list of topics. I will just share my screen in a bit so that you guys can see that. So I will also share this. I will also share this with all of you so that you can see which topics we need to. Okay. I will also share this with you so that you guys can pick whichever topics that you want to take up and basically do your talk on. So there are quite a number of talks. Feel free to take any, let's say, state management option and basically drill deep into it. I think also tips and tricks is one of the things that you can very easily like take up, and maybe let's say, for example, you have some expertise in using VS Code for your Flutter workflow. So just feel free to share what tools you use within VS Code and so on and so forth. If you are using Android Studio, feel free to just basically drill in and show us everything that you are doing. That will always, someone can always pick one or two things from there. So we've tried to categorize our talks into basically something to do with set management, storage, Dart language, quality assurance, tooling, Flutter core, and so on and so forth. So we want to basically make sure that every category of talks are covered. So if there's anything that you guys feel you may want to handle, just reach out to us, and we will be able to review the talk and see basically if it's a new topic maybe that has not been handled, those will be given higher priorities, but it just depends on how you defend your topic, and we'll be able to consider you. So I think that may be it. Unless Sam has something to say, I think that's all from me. Sam?
I really don't have anything to say, but only to thank Pato for creating time to give us the talk. Yeah, I appreciate it. It was a nice talk. Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, also thank you the rest of the attendants for basically making time to attend. It's a weekend, you might be doing something else, but we thank you very much for attending and being attentive in our talk. If you have any questions, feel free to reach in our groups and basically ask your questions there and basically just engage. We've not been very active lately, but I would like us to, as we are having talks, I'd like us to engage in the groups and feel free to make the community grow. So I think that is all from me. You have a good evening. So Pato, you are kindly asked to share the GitHub links. I think yeah, everyone who had questions, I think they have it answered. There's also a couple of thank yous to Pato and the congratulatory messages. So Pato, thanks for the good job.
So I think if you follow the official GitHub Nini, I will tag them after the talk.
Okay, so also feel free to post them in the groups, Telegram and WhatsApp, so that you guys can, those who missed maybe can also have access to it.
Thank you everyone.
Okay. Kwaherini.